3,000, they call them gas centrifuges, working simultaneously for 1 year to get 2.6 kilograms of highly enriched uranium, enough to make one bomb. There are 41 countries in the world that have more than 2.6 kilograms of highly enriched uranium. And we're talking about World War III over this. And thirdly, we should be continuing to work with the Russians, the Chinese, and the Europeans, because it's not in any of their interest Iran become a nuclear power. And there's a lot of sanctions that we can put, including running the risk of an embargo of their oil, short of war. Big nations can't bluff. Big nations can't bluff. And so we're in a very dangerous glide path here. And I have taken you off at 10 o'clock in the morning on some esoteric ride here, but it's about whether or not we are going to be able to get to the business of dealing with the real problems we face. Let me end by saying this. When I was a 29-year-old kid running for the United States Senate, and I used to meet like this in the library in Selbyville, Delaware, or, this is how we campaign in Delaware. Literally, not figuratively. This is how I get elected. This is why I'm so comfortable here in Iowa. This is how we do it. And there's no big media markets and so on. We go into people's living rooms, libraries, and restaurants. And I would be able to say in 1972, when I was running against the war in Vietnam, I could look at an audience like this and say, folks, I'm going to go to Washington and help end this war, and then we can attend to our nation's business. And everyone would nod their head, because they knew once the war was over, there were no more shoes to drop here. There were no more wars in the offing. If as your president tomorrow I was able to just end this war in the best way possible, get our troops home, how many of you would feel secure about our situation in the Middle East? I'd feel better. Would you feel secure? Does anybody think we have a handle on the Israeli-Palestinian issue, on the Iranian issue, on what's going on in Pakistan, on the Pakistan-Indian face-off with their nuclear weapons deployed, what's going on in China, North Korea, the de-democratization of Latin America, this guy Chavez down in Venezuela? Truth of the matter is, the next president of the United States is going to have the obligation and going to have to quickly, immediately end the war in Iraq. It's still going to be going. This guy's made it clear. He made it clear a month ago. The earth moved beneath our feet when he said, I have no plan to win. I have no plan to withdraw. My only plan is to hand it off to the next president. That's what he said. That's what he said. So the next president's going to have to end this war and immediately turn to these other hot spots in the world before they erupt into conflict. So the next president of the United States, he or she is going to have no margin for error, Marianne, when they're appointed. None. None. Unlike any other transfer of power, as long as any of you have been alive, there's no margin for error. And that president's going to have to know more than his or her Secretary of State. That president's going to have to know here, here, and here what his or her policy is in terms of America's place in the world. But if we move this boulder, not only do we have the ability to once again lead the world to a rational place, we have the ability to attend to all the things that made me a Democrat. I became a Democrat. I became involved in politics in my state because of the civil rights movement. We had segregation and we had a lot of bad things back in my border state of Delaware. That's got me involved. The war, the women's movement, healthcare, the environment, and education. Folks, we're spending $120 billion on this war in Iraq. How can we possibly deal with the money we have to spend on the environment? How can we deal with getting national health care? How can we deal with getting a new education system that allows kids to go to college and qualify, that starts kids at school earlier to give them a much better chance of making it through and not into the criminal justice system? All these things cost money. Imagine what I can do as your president with $120,000 not being spent, $120 billion not being spent on Iraq. I can insure every single solitary child in America for $27 billion. I could guarantee every American had catastrophic health insurance, driving down the cost of health insurance for businesses, allowing them to continue to keep people on the rolls, rather than shifting the 87% increase to them and wiping out employers. I could make sure that every single solitary kid in America qualified could go to college. It would cost $9 billion a year to do that. And I haven't even come close to using the $120 billion. I could use a lot of that money to draw down the debt. So folks, people wonder why I keep talking about Iraq. The reason I keep talking about Iraq, it's the key. It's the key to our ability to begin to lead the world again, rationally, in a rational direction. And it's a key to our ability for what I think is a renaissance that's needed here to lift middle-class people up and give them a fighting chance. I conclude by saying that here yesterday, not Thursday last, in the Wall Street Journal, not a liberal newspaper, headline, 1% of all the wage earners in America earn 21.8% of every dollar earned in America. You hear me now? 1% get almost a quarter of all the economic rewards in society. 50%, this is from the Wall Street Journal, 50% of the American people earn less than 13.7% of all the money earned in America. That condition has not existed since 1920. Since 1920. So folks, we got a lot of work to do, but we have such a gigantic opportunity. The next president of the United States is going to have a greater chance to put the world back on track and rejuvenate this country than any president since Franklin Roosevelt. Since any president since then. Because there's so much at stake and there's so many opportunities. And a lot of Democrats kind of despair as to can we get a handle on this again? The answer is absolutely yes. But you got to trust the American people. And you got to start by telling them the truth. They're not afraid of the truth. You can't have Democratic candidates up on the stage saying, I'm going to fix Social Security, it won't cost any money, just grow the economy. You can't have Democrats up there saying, I'm going to keep troops in Iraq till the year 2012, but I'm going to cut off all funding for troops to make the folks in the early primary states feel good that I'm trying to end the war. You can't say that I'm going to bring the troops home in 3 months when every single solitary person knows it'll take a minimum of 1 year to get 166,000 troops out of a place. You can't say these things. You got to tell them the truth. And I don't think anybody's trying to lie to them. They just are, I think, in their hearts are afraid if you tell the American people the truth, they won't be able to handle it. They've never not handled the truth. When has the American public ever let the country down? When in all our history have we faced a crisis, have the American public been the ones that said, whoa, 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 I don't want to try to handle that problem? It's about leadership. Imagine if, after 9/11, I'd been president, and I addressed the nation on the 15th of September. And I said, my fellow Americans, we've been dealt a tragic blow. 3,000 of our citizens have been murdered. Our economy's in real trouble. But like every generation before us, we'll overcome this. And I'm making 2 announcements today. One, I'm announcing I'm calling a meeting in Geneva, Switzerland, of the world's major powers for October the 1st, so we can jointly plan to take on radical fundamentalism in the world. Who would not have shown up? What country would not have shown up and not participate? And then if I said I'm sending an energy bill to the United States Congress, it will require some sacrifice, but it will free us from the grip of the oil oligarchs who are funding these terrorists. And it will require sacrifice. And I expect it of you. Who in America would have said, no, that's too tough. Don't ask me to do that, Joe. That's too tough. The American public are ready. They're absolutely ready. They're looking for the Democrats to tell them the truth and lay out very pragmatic solutions to how to deal with these problems. And folks, if we don't, George Bush is going to be judged extremely harshly by history, not for the mistakes he's made, but for the opportunities he squandered. He had a chance to unite the world. He had a chance to unite the country. And instead he said, fly, go to the mall, and by the way, on the way to this war,